Everybody comfortable? How are the seats?
Oh, there you are. Somebody's here. I wonder if I'm taking.
Well, as people come downstairs, I'd like to, first of all, thank everybody for coming. We'd like to thank definitely the Family Church for providing this facility. We'd also like to thank Brooklyn Harvest and Costco for providing the food upstairs. Let's have a hand for all of them. Now, one thing that we always do, one of our goals has always been to create a sense of community. So quickly, just if you say a word or something, I'd like you to introduce yourselves. We've always done that, it's a tradition. So I'd like to start right here with the infamous.
Good evening, everyone. My name is George Rivera. I'm a resident and as well as a business owner here in the Astoria, Queens.
Dan Buffa, also born and raised in this neighborhood as well.
I'm Bill McSorley. I own Catch Astoria.
I'm Aria, and I'm here to support my husband who's going to do the speech presentation.
I'm gonna do it. My name is Anya.
Hey, Anya. Hi.
Hi, my name is Peter. I own an engineering firm.
Hello, my name is Eva Hataki, and I'm an Astoria resident for 35 years.
I'm Maya, I'm an Astoria resident, and I'm a reporter for Hatch.
Hi, I'm April. I'm 20-year Astoria resident, and I teach hospitality teams locally.
By the way, as you hear people, maybe you're going to find somebody who has something in common with, so this is the point. We want to make this a community as much as possible, so we want people to know each other.
Nick, 40 years Astoria resident.
I'm Flote. I grew up in Astoria. I'm a play soccer here.
Chris Karastatis, architect, I live in Manhattan.
Nick Flabaris, resident since 70, Astoria. Have an office business, real estate broker since 86.
Nick's friend Bill, attorney, Astoria.
I want to say one thing. Foti there, him and I used to work weddings together. He was a DJ and I was a musician.
I'm Hercules Argerio. I'm a partner at Mega Contracting. We've been in Astoria for 40 years, 35 years. And I live in... My son's living in Astoria.
Hi, Mark Dimov with Compass, Astoria resident and homeowner.
Hey, my name is Johannes. I work in finance and real estate, and I work with prop tech companies and advising.
Hi, I'm Malika Schmidt, and I built the OANA website.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Inga. Live on 14th Street, Mount Road.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz. I'm a very long time Astoria resident.
Hi, my name is Tony Foy, and I work at LaGuardia Performing Arts Center at LaGuardia Community College.
Good evening, my name is Brian Grady. I'm associated with the new building on First Street called 10 Howard's Point.
Melanie LaRocca, Department of Buildings.
I'm Byron Alarcon. I'm an Astoria resident for the last 36 years, and I'm a homeowner. I'm White Francis.
Basil Gavalis, lifelong resident of Astoria, 3/4 of it in this neighborhood. I represent Holy Protection, Greek Orthodox Cathedral of the Holy Protection on 12th Street, 27th Avenue.
Jean Marie DeLeva, Vice Chair of Community Board 1, and also Vice President of the 114 Precinct Community Council.
Hi, good evening. Officer Joe Esposito, 114 Precinct, Neighborhood NCO.
Officer Nostromo, also the Neighborhood Coordination Officer.
Good evening. I'm Sergeant Omar Castillo. I'm the Neighborhood Coordination Sergeant for Command.
Good evening, everyone. Aisha Mayfield. I'm with the Assemblywoman Kathy Nolan's office.
Neil Hunn, Executive Resident and Co-Chair, Friends of Whiteforth Field.
I'm Richard Melnick, formerly from the Astoria Historical Society. I've lived here since '95, and I'm a licensed New York City tour guide.
Good evening. My name is Justin Potter. I'm from Court Square, and I'm a candidate for State Senate.
Hi, good evening. My name is David Burgoa. I work with Neighborhood Housing Services of Queens. So if you have one of our flyers and you have questions, please see me out.
Good evening, Gabriela Torrano. I live in Astoria for 30 years.
Hi guys, Will Diana, Christian Wakefield, doing real estate here for about 5 years and 9 months, or 1 year and like 3 months resident. So, you know.
Good evening, Jose Hernandez. I used to live in Astoria. I have a lot of family here. Love this neighborhood.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sophia Zambrano from the Queens Public Library, Astoria branch, and also a resident since 1974. I love this branch. I love the Astoria community, and thank you so much for what you're doing for our community.
My name is Marta Zambrano, long-term resident since '74 also.
My name is Armand Espaghi. I've been in Astoria for 4 years.
Hi, I'm Maureen Connolly. I grew up in Astoria. My parents still own their house on 37th Street since 1957. Went to grammar school, and what was Morton Christie is now St. John's Prep. My first time every year, so I just want to see what's happening in our community.
Welcome.
Hi, Tiffany Stillwell, a resident of Astoria, 20 years, and I work for Bond New York Real Estate.
Hi, I'm Angelica Acevedo. I'm a reporter for Queens Courier.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rosalie Molika, long-time Astoria resident.
I want to talk.
Good evening, my name is Frank Miller. I'm a board member at Central Astoria Local Development Corporation.
I'm Frank's friend and I live in the area.
Hi, my name is Elena Rontes. I've been in Astoria for about a year and I'm a member of Family Church.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Girassi. I also go to church here, and I'm a singer and actress, and I live right around the corner on 21st Street.
I'm Bob Hopkins. I'm a homeowner on 19th Street.
I'm Professor William Rițiu. I used to teach mathematics, statistics with the John Jay College regarding the police there. I'm in the neighborhood for a very long time, like 37 years, but I discovered today the church is the first time when I'm here between you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elaine Wu. I am the branch manager at the Chase branch on Ditmars.
A great bank, by the way.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm George Pelergios. I'm a resident of Astoria, and I have my offices here in Astoria, my construction office.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mikhail Haddad. I'm a certified financial planner for JP Morgan.
Frank Arcabasio, owner of Redken Saloon Salon, and I represent 30th Avenue Business Association.
Hi, my name is Lucas. I'm associate pastor here at Family Church. I just wanted to say that we're really honored to receive everybody here in the community, and I'm really honored to have OANA here with us as well. And I also work at Bloomberg LP.
Great. Well, thank you. Everybody give themselves a hand. You know, if there's any names out there, people that you thought you might be, you know, have a common interest in, this is the kind of thing we try and create here. So, want to give a few updates, basically, of some things that are going on before we start. First of all, it was brought to our attention that there were some problems with cars parked at Main and Astoria Boulevard, and they were illegally parked. We got the DOT involved and the NYPD involved, and they've been very supportive in trying to keep that area clear. It's been very dangerous for the children going to the school on 14th Street. 171, coming from particularly down in the peninsula around Astoria houses. So it's something that needs to be eradicated, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. Also, within the context of that, we're trying to get a school safety zone created, again, around PS 171. Okay, this is we're trying to get cameras put in there, lights, stop lights. We put the applications into DOT, and we'll be following up on that. Also, many of you know that we have a ferry petition out there to extend the ferry from Hallett's to the Upper East Side. So far, we have about 1,100 signatures, and we're looking for, we've got some things in the wind that hopefully will help get this thing resolved, because it's something that makes sense. It's like 1,500 feet, a 5-minute ride, and it would create a definite corridor for economic and cultural and tourist and so many reasons. Residential development in the area coming from the Upper East Side to our neighborhood. So it's a no-brainer, so hopefully the politicians will get on board. Also, on that same area down there on Vernon Boulevard, we've applied to the DOT Summer Streets program. We're looking to try and establish a 1 or 2 day arts walk, street closure on Vernon Boulevard from Socrates through Welling Court Mural Project. We want to do it on the day when Welling Court comes up with their new artwork, so their opening day. So that's in the application process, and we're hoping for the best. Also, in conjunction with the family church, we want to establish a block party here on 18th Street, so we'll be working on that soon. Another thing that we've been working on is catch basins. A couple of the catch basins here have never been cleaned, I think, in our lifetime, so we're doing the best we can to keep them from, to getting them cleaned out. So we managed to get one 25th Road and 18th Street. We got that cleaned out, and that's the first one we managed to succeed in getting done, so hopefully it's the beginning of many more. I know that the couple people in the council have actually put a bill or a prospective bill in the city council to try and facilitate cleaning out catch basins. One of them is our councilman Constantinides, so hopefully that works out. So that's my update, okay? And I'd like to start now with, what we try and do is every month we try and give a platform to local business, of a new local business that's starting off. And this month, we'd like to bring up Peter Foster. If you'd like to come up. Is this loud enough for everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Peter Foster, and I am the owner of 360 Engineering. So I'm here today to introduce my company and discuss some topics which may be informative to you for if you have a small residential project. So 360 Engineering provides engineering services, including renovations, additions, zoning analysis, violation removal services, and contractor support services. So I find many homeowners don't understand the following concepts. So I thought I'd start with clarifying those things. Number one, what is a professional engineer? And the difference between an engineer and an architect. 2, well, when is work exempt from a permit? And so, what is a professional engineer? Well, as per the New York State Education Department, sorry, can you do the slide? A licensed professional engineer evaluates plans, designs, supervises, and/or consults on the construction or operation of utilities, houses, office buildings, shopping centers, roads, bridges, machines, and other projects which require the application of engineering principles and data and safeguard people and property. This is a relatively wordy and broad definition. Engineers do not generally practice all types of engineering. For example, a building engineer wouldn't be qualified to design a bridge. So an engineer versus an architect. The reality is we're more alike than either one wants to admit. As per the New York State Education Department, an engineer and an architect are both registered design professionals who are qualified by education and experience. In New York City, an engineer and an architect can file plans for a building of any size. For most projects, either an engineer or an architect may file plans that are there are just a few exceptions where an engineer needs to submit plans or certify the design. The difference is small and probably won't affect a small residential renovation. No matter what the work is, both an engineer and an architect must be qualified to provide the service that you need. They should be able to advise to you if they're qualified to do the work. For a standard residential renovation, in addition, a standard renovation or addition, either an engineer or architect could be retained. Slide, please. Okay. Can you go back one? Okay. So when is work exempt from a permit? So RCNY 101-14 is a New York City rule which defines what work does or does not require a permit. 28-105.4 is a section of the New York City Administrative Code which defines cases that do not require a permit. Both can be found on the DOB website or via a Google search, or if you visit my website on the current events page. So if work is exempt from a permit, either hire a licensed contractor or perform the work yourself. But plans are not required to be submitted. If anybody has any questions about any work that you need to determine if it needs a permit or not, I'll be happy to discuss with you after the meeting. Slide. What is the process of filing plans, obtaining permits, and project sign-off? So before we get into the process, there are a few definitions that need to be defined. The drawing approval. This is when the Department of Buildings approves the drawings. Permit approval. This occurs after drawing approval, and it ties the contractor to the approved drawings and the work type. Special and progress inspections. These inspections are defined by New York City, which are required to be performed by the qualified inspection agency. Different inspections are required for different types of work. Slide, please. So when filing plans, first consult with an engineer or architect regarding what work you would like to do and what type of permits are required. If permits are needed and you decide you'd like to move forward with the work, then the next step is for the PE to prepare the plans, which shows existing conditions and the proposed conditions of the project, of the building. These drawings should be provided to the asbestos abatement to verify that there is no asbestos-containing material disturbed by the work, and to the contractors to provide a quote. The next step is to submit the drawings for approval to the Department of Buildings. This may lead to 1 or 2 plan exams to discuss any open items, and eventually the drawings will be approved. After drawing approval, the contractor and the special inspector and the progress inspectors have been selected. You may file for your permits. Generally, you will have 3 permits: general construction, plumbing, and electrical permit. But note that the electrical permit is generally filed by the electrician and no plans are submitted. after the final progress inspection is complete, you can sign off your project. After the final progress inspection is complete, the sign-off request can be sent to the Department of Buildings. Finally, once the sign-off request is approved, the project is now complete. This was a very cursory description of the process. It may vary depending on the scope of work for your project. Slide, please. I have left business cards in the back behind the police officers there. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
One question.
Hi, Peter.
Yeah.
Are you primarily engineers? Do you have architects in your office with you?
No, I don't have any architects in there.
Hold on, one thing, when you're asking questions, please give your names, we're taking minutes, okay? And it's being recorded, so give your name and we appreciate that.
Hi, Peter. I live just a few blocks from here in a one-bedroom apartment, but I engaged a contractor and electrician and so forth to renovate it as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'm interested though, usually people come to an engineer when there's something beyond the architect that requires...
The reality is there's overlap. Engineers and architects really do the same type of work.
Are most of your
for small
customers
residential projects.
residential or business?
For small residential projects, an engineer and an architect would basically do the same type of work. They're parallel.
Okay, okay.
And when you get into larger projects, they send them.
My name's Ian. I'm right around here. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
My name is Frank Alcavasio. I wanted to know, what do you think about, I know it's a little loaded question, but it's important. The reason why he's so important to be at this meeting is that this area and the zonings are changing so much. And a lot of, what do you call it? Well, anyway, a lot is changing and you're a very valuable person in this community. So thank you for presenting today.
Hi, Frank Miller. The difference between an engineer and an architect, an engineer has his specialty. He's either a mechanical engineer, an HVAC, electrical engineer, structural engineer, where an architect is a general, basically a black and white type guy. Wouldn't you agree?
Everybody has their tends to have their specialties, but
Right. So the phrase an engineer can, I'm an electrical engineer, PE, an electrical engineer, and I can't file plans for a home. I could, but I can't. I mean, that's irresponsible of me. I can do the electrical work, but I can't do the physical or the mechanical work. So that's where the architect comes in. Wouldn't you agree?
So, no, not necessarily. For a small residential project, it's not necessarily, okay. So you're qualified by education and training, by experience, right? So depending on your experience, you may be qualified to do more than just design a beam, right? As an engineer, okay?
So you're helping people put extra floors on to make sure the building's safe for the extra floor, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean that in a good way. I mean, that must be a common thing where people say, I would like to see how I can get the most out of the size and the foundation I have, but maybe we need to ask an engineer that it'll work.
Well, it's more than that. I would come in and I would look at do you want to build backwards? Do you want to make the footprint larger? Do you want to go up? Generally, it's more expensive to go up than out, right? But there's zoning limitations on how far you can go back, how much, the maximum amount of area, livable space you can have in your building, the maximum amount of area your building can take on your lot. Yeah. So there's a lot more to it than that, but yeah.
The physics of whether the foundations will be safe.
Microphone because of recording?
I mean, do you help the architect make sure that the dreams that people have can physically happen in a code compliant way?
Yeah, so for some of my projects, I do work with architects. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. We try and create a platform for new business, and this is a new business that's starting here. So this last month we had a bakery. Some of the cards are back there. We had Tom's Pet Supply the month before. People know that. It took over in the plaza on 21st Street in Broadway. So it's a tradition we want to keep going. Next, very important, is the police presence in our area, the NYPD. And the whole concept of the neighborhood coordination officer is a big step forward in establishing good relationships between the community and police. So we'd like to invite up our NCOs, their sergeant and our Sector David, which is what we're in, Sector David officers. Joe Esposito, Officer Nostrama, and Sergeant Castillo.
Hi, good evening, everyone. We're your neighborhood coordination officer for Sector David. We don't have much of a presentation today. We do host our own meetings every quarter. I brought some flyers. I'll leave them in the back with our business cards. At this meeting, we can kind of get a little more personal, take a lot more questions, concerns, comments, and you know, then we can work with you, you know, on a more personal level going forward. So we'll leave these and the business cards in the back. You know, for instance, one example is that problem on Main Avenue. We were notified, you know, through email. We've been trying to keep tabs on it. We've been coordinating with sectors, housing officers. I mean, the most we can do, unless the car's abandoned, is really just a parking ticket, but sometimes that gets the point through. So we've actually been having a little problem with attendance, so if, you know, anybody can join, it's in March 19th. A lot of the details you can get to, as far as even our jurisdiction, is you could be found on social media, believe it or not, Facebook and Twitter. The department's real active on there. They have our pictures, our names, our emails, our contact, the jurisdiction we cover. Real quick, for people who don't know, it's from 21st Street to the water, from Astoria Park South to Queensbridge. So that's our sector. We cover Roosevelt Island also, as well as the 3 housing developments. The housing developments have their own NCOs. We try to work with them, but technically we're still kind of responsible for that as well. So we're there a lot. We try to cover Roosevelt Island. That's actually where our next meeting is going to be, because we usually have to flip-flop, because people from Roosevelt Island don't come over for this meeting, and then when we have this meeting, nobody comes to Roosevelt Island. So we try to switch it up so we could, you know, get in touch with everybody. My regular partner Keith, he's out sick right now. He'll be back, but Officer Nostrama's filling in for him, and this is our new Sergeant Castillo. He's not that new, but for those of you who don't know. So other than that, we really don't have much to present or talk about. If anyone has any questions or...
We'll start here.
How are you? Given
Your name,
my name
please.
is George Colergios. How are you? I'm a Astoria resident. Given the current time frame in Astoria and the city of New York, how do you see crime in Astoria right now? Is it escalating? Is it going down? Do you have, you know, what's your feel on that right now?
Like I said, I don't have stats on me per se right now. Actually, I just returned from being sick last week. I'm trying to get caught up with everything, so I apologize for that. As far as crime in the whole pan as a whole, it's been down. For 2019, crime was down. The only thing right now that we're seeing spikes in is break-ins of cars. We We ask that you guys make sure that you don't leave any property, any valuables in your automobiles, make sure they're locked. We also have a little uptick with some vehicles that are being stolen due to cars being left on, and the keys are in the ignition as well. Other than that, nothing really jumping off that I can recall, or anything that's of main concern that, is too weary right now. So I hope that answers your question sufficiently.
We support you. We thank you for everything that you do. We think you're doing a great job. The only reason why I bring it up is I personally am not happy with the new bail reform laws that have come out, and I feel it puts also the police department in a bad situation. And unfortunately, at the beginning of this week, they had a knife stabbing at the deli on 24th Avenue and 31st Street. The owner and the stock boy went to the hospital stabbed, and they wrote it up in the papers as a slashing. But thank God they're okay, they survived. But 2 cars rode up on them. And the good news is I just found out there was an apprehension today, but not on the stabbing. When they served the warrant, they arrested the individual because he had a loaded weapon in an illegal loaded stolen gun inside his house. But I'm glad that you guys got the first guy, and hopefully you'll get the other 4 individuals. And thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll be right there.
Good evening. I am a former professor with the John Jay College. I am happy to see you here.
Could you give your name, please?
My name is Professor William Ritziu. I have to stand up. It's in the meantime I own a building, a small one, 6 family. But I don't know how to classify. I have a new case. I own it in the past 37 years. But right now I have a tenant which fights with his wife. I hear from the yard, but the result is that he breaks the door with the doors, is not once, with the fist. For example, breaks in 1 month 3 refrigerators, one of them punched. I don't know how to interpret this kind of vandalism. It's in your area of search, or it's just between the tenant and the owner?
Do you live in the building?
I do.
Do you know if they've actually called 911 themselves?
I don't think that he called or his wife. His wife is very obeying. No, what I did, because I don't want problems, I just repaired it. But I cannot continue like this forever. So my question is how to...
Is the property being damaged your property, or is it theirs?
It's my property.
Okay. After this meeting,
I mean my property, not in the apartment where I live, in his apartment, which is mine, because the whole building is mine.
if you decide you need to call 911, we can come and, we'll take it from there. But I can talk to you after this, a little more personal, so.
Yes.
To give you a little better answer than that, sir.
Yes. I'm so happy that you are here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Good evening. Basil Gavalis, Holy Protection Cathedral. We're having an issue where personal vehicles with official placards in them. So one from an officer from the 2-5 precinct, fire department member, state court of the state of New York, another city department, I forgot which one, are just parking in the no parking zone in front of our church and leaving their car there for overnight, over the weekend, through the week. Last week we had a funeral and this officer was parked in there because he can. And we've called up, nothing has been done. So I want to ask you all, what is it that we can do about this abuse of privilege that that these men are taking? Or women, I don't want to be...
What's the location of the church?
27th Avenue, corner of 27th Avenue and 12th Street.
All right, we'll make sure we grab that information. I want to let you know, as far as our department, as of this week, it just launched a new initiative as far as placard abuse. There's a unit that's out there now that's actually looking to see if members of the department are abusing their privileges. There's only specific areas we are allowed to park in. If an individual is caught abusing that privilege, they receive 2 summonses. We receive 2 summonses. I know the first one is $250, the second one's $500. And on top of that, you get the placard, removed from you. And then you also get, disciplinary action as far as our job level. So, it can't be stopped entirely, it's up to that individual, but we'll take the information and we'll see how we can help you out with that.
Right, because we have called 311, nothing gets done. I've literally had them tell me, it's an official placard, I'm not doing anything. It's literally said to my face.
Okay.
And I know we're not Mount Carmel, I know we're in the back end of nowhere, but I'd appreciate it if you guys would come by. Also, we have some other concerns, I don't want to take up the entire meeting, so come on by the church.
We'll make sure he leaves his card with you, sir.
Pardon?
We'll make sure we leave our card with you, all right?
Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Phil Capadora. I'm the founder and chairman of the Astoria Filmmakers Club. I just wanted to go off at that point because we support the local police department, no doubt. You guys work very, very hard. Space is limited. And I did want to ask, however, what is the actual violation for a private citizen who parks within the 15-foot range of a fire plug? And what are the community standards on why we can't have police officers' private vehicles park there overnight as well? Because I see that all over the community.
As far as the distance, 15 feet from the hydrant should be fine, I believe. So your point as far as the overnight parking?
It's complete coverage. He's blocking, and my apartment building is in front of an actual fire plug. God forbid any of those houses catch on fire. You have a police officer's private vehicle preventing New York City Fire Department from doing their job.
Well, they'll do their job. They'll go to that vehicle, trust me. They will. So.
What would be the proper reporting to let
Again, if you
the
have to
police
call,
department know?
you could contact 311. If you have to call 911 as well, let them know if there's a vehicle, any vehicle, not just one of our vehicles, not just the individual who you feel has a placard. Make them aware. If we go out there, we summons a vehicle, then you can call a tow truck and have it removed. To no cost to you.
Thank you.
How you doing? Justin Potter. I just wondering if you had any comments on that bail reform and how it's going to affect your jobs, and if it affects it at all.
Well, we're recording live right now. I can't comment on that. I got to remain professional. Listen, I'm not in favor for it either. It's not just here in the city. Like I said, I live out in the island. It's the same thing there. You see, everyone sees what's going on in the news right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to come back to bite them. That's my opinion.
David Matten. About a year ago, I went to a community council meeting and I referred to the fact that in the past 2 years, the precinct had not issued any overlaying the truck tickets for the past 2 years. There still haven't been a single one issued, even though they go up and down Astoria Boulevard, off the bridge, up and down 21st Street, up and down Vernon, and up and across 24th. It seems sort of hard to believe that not a single one would have been found in the intervening time, given that they have a big 53 on the side, which designates them as expressly illegal in the city streets.
Referring to you said overnight?
Over-length trucks.
Okay.
So not a single citation had been issued in the precinct in the previous 2 years, and none since. So why would that be? They're driving up and down the streets, Astoria Boulevard, 21st Street, and 24th Avenue. They're there. Anyone driving around sees them, but they're never issued overnight tickets.
Honestly, I wouldn't have the answer to that. That'd probably be more so for our highway safety sergeant in the command. I just don't have the answers for you. I can't speak to that. I apologize, sir. I can try and get some information for you.
A lot of more red lights, jumping red lights, passing vehicles, not stop signs not being respected. And I'm talking the area between 21st Street, Vernon Boulevard, Astoria Boulevard, and Broadway, that sector. 14th Street sometimes is a highway street, you know, from Astoria Boulevard to Broadway, because there are not lights. Not necessarily that I'm asking for lights, but 31st Avenue stop sign sometimes is not being respected, and that's a four-way stop sign. So that's one issue that we have been observing. The other thing is commercial vehicles parking overnight in that same area that I mentioned, and vehicles with no registration, no license plates, not just like abandoned or in that same area. Also extended probably on the other side of Costco, where there are no residents really there, across the street from DHL, that area. Parking is getting very tight. So having vehicles that they have no purpose or they shouldn't be there affect the parking situation.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're aware of some of those situations. Some of these vehicles you talk about with no registration, like derelict vehicles. I will say, let you guys know one thing. There's a program that we have to remove these vehicles. We call it rotation tow. Unfortunately, right now, the powers that be over our head. We had 3-4 companies at one time. We only have one company handling our precinct, and it's not just our precinct, it's a couple of precincts. So that's been a big issue for us as well. I've gotten many complaints as far as a lot of issues over by the BQE, trying vehicles removed, but when I have, my guys trying to take a vehicle, they're sitting for a few hours waiting for someone to come pick up this vehicle, and nothing's getting done. That's not productive for anybody.
Right.
So with that, we just ask your patience. I don't know when that's going to get remedied. So.
Quick question. Sorry.
No, that's all right. Parking is, in our particular sector, the main complaint we get, believe it or not. Like he said, there's only one company that does it now. The bottom line is most of these cars are junk, and companies don't want to take them. Excuse me. So we try our best to address it, but honestly, there's so many complaints throughout our zone that it's really hard to keep tabs on top of everyone every day that we're here. We do tow a lot of vehicles, we ticket a lot, but parking violations and derelict vehicles are honestly, excuse me, a huge issue for us in our particular sector. So we're very aware of it. Like I said in the beginning, I'll leave my card. You can email us, text us, call us. We can talk about it, more in length when we have more time. And that's really it.
Another quick question, if I may.
One thing I'd like to add to that. Hopefully this summer on 14th Street, it's going to be converted to two-way. That's already been approved.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah, so it's going to be converted, and that should actually help to reduce the speeding, and it's going to make more control in the area. Historically, that's what happens. So that should be starting hopefully this summer. It was actually approved last year, but they didn't quite get it done this summer, and they only want to do it during the summertime.
14th Street from where to where?
From
to Astoria Boulevard.
30th Avenue to Broadway.
All right.
So.
Yeah, because the other portion is already two-way.
So anyways, the other thing is too, the issues that the police have, we as a civic association have a hand to play here too. If they don't have the wherewithal to handle these parked cars, it's up to us to let their bosses know, quite frankly. This is what we can do as an association like this. We can write a letter, we can get, this is what we do. So if people are interested in this, maybe we can talk about it later, and maybe I'll send out an email or something to different people, and we can start that. If we get exactly what you need, we'll do the best we can to give you the tools. It's not just about, we're not here to harass you or give you complaints, you can't do anything about it. We want to help you.
One quick comment or question. I noticed a lot of more vehicles also driving with the high light beams on. As a pedestrian, sometimes it is hard for me to see my cross path or whatever because it blinds you. You know, they're very strong. Is that, do you watch for that? Is anything that we can do about it?
It's like with myself on the drive home, it's annoying, but that's something that really can't be controlled. If we see,
No,
if
cannot.
that's observed, maybe, the officers can do a stop, but.
They can, they would, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to thank our officers. Now, I'd like to bring up somebody that's a friend of mine, somebody that I've known for a lot of years, and we're very, very glad that she came to join us. Our new commissioner of the Department of Buildings, Melanie LaRocca. LaRocca Astoria. So, actually, Melanie and George and I all served on and George and I still serve on the Land Use Committee of Community Board 1. And Jean Marie's often at these meetings also, so this is like an old home week. We really appreciate you coming down. And so I guess I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll go through very quickly what the Department of Buildings is, who we are, what we do, and then I'll leave plenty of time for any questions anybody has. So first off, on the who we are front, so just so everybody knows, the New York City Department of Buildings promotes safety of all people that build, work, or live in New York City, and we regulate the lawful use of over 1 million, 1.1 to be closer to exact, buildings and construction sites throughout the 5 boroughs. So what does that actually mean? We ensure the safe and lawful use of those 1.1 million buildings and construction sites throughout the city. We facilitate safe and responsible development by enforcing 2 things. One is the New York City zoning resolution, and the other is the New York City construction codes. And then the last part is we respond to emergencies, so we are not first responders. We are, as I like to call them, 1A responders, and we hold construction and design professionals accountable on your behalf. And I'll talk a little more about what I mean when I say that. So a couple of things just to keep in mind the scale of this city. I know we all think of ourselves as neighborhoods, and that's very true. But the city is in fact a very large space. So we have 1.1 million buildings in the city of New York, and at any given time, there are some 45,000 active construction sites. So that could be very little. You are installing a dishwasher in your home, very small project, but still a construction project, or you're putting up a 100-story building. So all of that and everything in between is permitted and approved by the department, and the construction and sign-off is overseen by the department as well. Again, for scale of the 45,000 active construction sites we have, there are about 7,000 of those sites that we would consider larger, where workers on the sites are required to have safety training. So we have a map on our website that shows you those sites, and it's updated daily because new sites come on daily. So for anybody who's doing work in their home or their business, an important stat that I like to remind folks, again, remember the scale. So when you're doing work and you need a Department of Buildings inspector to come and inspect the work you're doing to close it out and move you on, our average wait time right now is 2.38 days. So today is Tuesday, still Tuesday magically, I don't know how, but today is Tuesday. So if you called us today before the end of the week, you would have an inspector at your home, at your business, or wherever it is, doing that development inspection, which is pretty good. So a couple of other things in terms of outreach that we've done of late. I mentioned it just very quickly, the nearly 7,000 sites where workers are required to have safety training. So as of December 1, that was 30 hours for workers, 62 hours for supervisors on those sites. And come September of this year, and I should have said as of December 1st, 2019, come September of this year, the number for workers grows from 30 to 40 hours. Supervisors stay the same at 62 hours, and we have for the first time ever, a dedicated unit of inspectors who do nothing but proactive inspections of these construction sites. So these nearly 7,000 sites, that's all they do. They don't respond to your 311 complaint, they don't respond to my 311 complaint, and they don't go out and do sweeps. They just do proactive, department, internally scheduled. We surprise, we show up when we show up. We don't schedule with the applicant. But all they do is safety compliance at these larger sites. And what does that actually mean for everyday people? That means construction accidents have gone down for the first time in nearly a decade. We saw in calendar year 2019 a 26%, I'm forgetting the exact number, reduction in accidents on job sites. That means workers who step foot on that site that day go home safely to their family. Very, very important for this department to make sure that everybody who walks on a site walks off that site and goes home to their family, lives their lives as they would have. Promoting worker safety and ensuring we continue to drop that number of accidents on sites is critically important, and with that is fatalities as well. So that local law, just so everybody knows, is Local Law 196 of 2017. Another one that we are out there, and we actually did some outreach along some retail corridors in CB1, is around Local Law 28 of 2019. So this is specific to retail business signage. So for a number of our small businesses, they may have been issued a work without a permit violation from the department. So with the city council, they passed a few different laws, one of them being Local Law 28 of 19, which meant that the Department A no longer issues civil penalties to businesses for work without a permit. For signage, this is just exterior signage. So think of your awning, however you slice it and dice it, a sign on a business. For certain signs that are not greater than 150 square feet and don't exceed 1,200 pounds. So as part of that, there was an amnesty period. If you didn't pay the violation, you go to DOF, they'll waive it. But as part of that, we did do some outreach to businesses in CB1. I think we were at Steinway, and it's escaping me the other main drag that we were on. So that period is still in effect. So if you know of a business that got a violation and didn't pay yet, they should call the department and make sure that they are coordinated and waive that fee, number one, and two, come on in and let's legalize that sign so you don't have that problem again. And then another thing, just again, so everybody knows what we're all dealing with, I want to just go through a couple of the top complaints for calendar year 2019 that we received from CB1 Queens. So for 2019, the top complaint we received was work without a permit. Illegal conversion was the second. Construction contrary or beyond approved plans or permits was the third. Curb cut, illegal hotel, after hour variances, elevator service out, building shaking, certificate of occupancy, non-illegal or contrary, and site conditions. That's the top 10 list of the complaints we've received in CB1 Queens. And then, let's see, we'll end with some very important information, which is our contact information. So a very important part of this department is making sure that you all know, as residents of the city or business owners in the city, or however you got to the city, that we work for you. So it's very important. Our job is to make sure that you all know whatever you need to know, feel empowered with the information that you have in order to make decisions about the work you may want to do, or to make sure that you understand what is happening with your project. So this is very complicated stuff when we talk about building and doing work in existing buildings to renovate them or repair them or whatever you want to do. And even when it's a small project, like if you were renovating your kitchen, or if you want to build a new building, right? You have a home, you want to tear it down, you want to put something new up. This is all very complicated things, and we have really great design professionals who do this for a living. And for some time, the Department of Buildings has been very focused on talking just to those design professionals, which is all fine and well because they're the folks who are coming in and filing the paperwork and pulling the permits and doing the work. So that's all great, except for the fact that you all pay those design professionals to do that work. So, you know, a real part of our drive is making sure that you all know, you guys are the ones who are paying these people, know what we know, and know what we tell the design professional, so that everybody is operating at the same level, on the same playing field, so that you know what is needed in order to get your project done, get you done quickly, and get it done safely. And so that's our goal. We want to make sure that we're acting as real consumer protection, acting as if we were a consumer protection agency. You hire somebody, they work with us. We want you to know that there are people here who are ready, willing, and able to help you just understand what the next steps are and how you get your project over the finish line. Because at the end of the day, as a property owner, you may see violations and monetary penalties, and we want to make sure that everybody understands exactly what is happening, why it's happening, and how we fix it. At the end of the day, we want compliance. So we want your building to be legal, we want it to be used legally, and we want everybody to be safe. That's the goal. So a couple of very helpful things in that vein. One is contact information for the department, and two are some really helpful resources on our website. So when I talk about making sure that you all know, we publish a monthly enforcement update, which is on our website, so you can see what we've done that month, right? So we've issued a violation, and that violation was upheld. That gets filed for that month, so you can see what's of note, what's happening around the city, but also you can see if we've taken disciplinary action against any design professional or contractor or anything of that like. Again, we're not telling you who to hire, that's not our job, we don't tell you that, we never will, but we are telling you what we're doing and the actions the department has taken, and you make the decisions that are right for your project, your timeline, your budget, and the sorts. Contact information, James O'Connor is your point person. James can be reached at 718-960-4724. 718-960-4724. Give him a call if you have any question. If you want to know anything about the department, whether it's just help understanding if you wanted to redo your kitchen, what that would mean. If you wanted to know what your neighbor was doing, call James. If you hear noise, but go on our website and enter in that address and do not see a permit issued, call James. If you see noise if you hear noise, at night, or on the weekends and it's after hours, we have a map that's updated every day, where you can see all of the legally permitted after-hour variances that the department issues. Again, the name of the game is making sure you have everything you need from us to know what's going on and how to do it right, how to do it fast, safely, so that you can go on enjoying your space. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions.
James O'Connor for this district. Frank Arcabascio. James O'Connor, you're saying, is for this district?
Correct.
I need the phone number one more time.
718-960-4724. James is in our community engagement unit. And he is located in our Queensborough office. My apologies, two important things. We have borough offices in every borough. Our Queensborough office is at 120-55 Queens Boulevard, also where the borough president is. We're on the ground floor. You walk into the building, make a left. The Department of Buildings is there. And on Tuesday nights, every Tuesday night, from 4 to 7, don't call in advance, just show up, no appointment needed. You have a project, you have no idea where it is it approved, is it not approved, why was it disapproved, what are objections in general, what objections did we issue to your project, or somebody is telling you they're waiting 30 days for an inspector to come out. You all know that the average is in fact under 3 days, so nobody should be waiting 30 days for an inspection. So if you hear that, that is wrong. So you can come by any Tuesday, 4 to 7, stop by the Queensborough office. Again, don't make an appointment, just come on by. And we'll have plenty of our staff members there to take any question you have and get you answers that day right there.
Good evening, Commissioner LaRocca.
Hello.
And congratulations. I know that Rick Chandler was the DOB commissioner for a long time before the temporary appointee, and now you maintain the position.
That is true.
Okay. I'm wondering whether Kate Miller works for you as a personal assistant like she did for Mr. Chandler.
She does.
Okay. I live in the largest residential condominium in Astoria, Queens, called Shore Towers Condominium. Maybe some of you do too. It's about 4 blocks behind me, I think, as I speak.
Okay.
For over 15 years, according to the DOB website, there is, on the ground level of the building, 5 units that were illegally converted into storage
Okay.
by a board member. Now, I have the building zone bylaws here, and that's prohibited. And the building has R6 zoning, which prohibits building storage across the hall in a residential multi-level high-rise. What the man did, he owned 5 units and he illegally gutted them according to the DOB website. And the words used on the violations are illegal, illegally, and hazardous. These storage units were refitted with steel cages after the owner had the heating and bathrooms and kitchens, or the bathrooms and heating removed.
Okay.
5 units with 150 steel storage cages on the ground level. I live on the ground level in
Okay.
apartment LH. I didn't know when I bought my unit in 2016 that nobody lived across the hall from me. The space of this hallway in the church looks to be about accurate in terms of how many inches away these storage units are from my wife and I, where we live and have our family. There are over 15 years of complaints on the DOB website, like I said, using the words illegal, illegally gutted, and hazardous. In 2017, NBC4 Emmy Award-winning journalist Chris Glorioso came to the building and interviewed myself and the board president, who said they would be cleared in 6 months. I submitted video yesterday to your agency through Assemblywoman Catherine Nolan,
Okay.
who's been fantastic in trying to send not only Rick Chandler letters, but yourself, and she did send them to Rick Chandler and yourself, asking you to look at this. What happens when your inspectors come is they eventually come around to the point that there isn't an imminent fire hazard. Although that's contrary to the NBC report, which has Professor Glenn Corbett, who teaches your inspectors and FDNY in fire safety. And he says it's an imminent fire hazard.
Okay,
And that's in the NBC report from excuse me, let me finish and I'll keep it to under 1 minute.
Excuse me. Now, this is a personal issue that you have.
If you think it's personal, I'm done. It is personal. My wife and I live there, Richard.
If it's a valid complaint.
Give her the time. I don't need the mic if you want me off. You can pull the rug out from me from any time. You can pull the rug out from me.
Number one. Number two.
Let the commissioner speak. I'll shut up.
I'm happy to talk to you after. I'm not familiar with the NBC reporting that you described.
The job site between the sub and the contractor that did something wrong with it, follow the plan, so a violation is issued. But now you guys have a new process where you also issue the same violation to the property owner. The property owner assumes when he hires a contractor and DOB authorizes and lets this contractor pull a permit that he's doing everything as per plan. Why is the homeowner now issued the same violation as the contractor?
So good question. I would say the vast majority of instances, if there is a permit pulled and a contractor associated with that, that violation goes to the contractor. Typically when you see violation summonses issued to homeowners, it's for things around work without a permit. And there are certain obvious reasons why that homeowner would get without a permit violation. But the vast majority of violations are issued to the permit holder, whether it is a conflict between a subcontractor or the general contractor. Typically the department issues nearly exclusively to the permit puller. That is the one who is assigning obligation and risk to that site and takes ownership of that site for that work and whether it conforms or not. So I would say vast majority are issued to the permit puller.
Well, that I understand, but like I said, now you're seeing inspectors issuing, they're doubling the violation and also issuing the same violation.
Hey, Joe, can you use the mic? I appreciate it, thanks.
You tell me nobody can hear me of all people? So, like I said, the inspectors come out, they issue the violation to the GC, which is understandable, but now they have new practices of issuing the same violation to the property owner who is not at the site and not in charge of the site.
What's the violation type that you're seeing issued to property owners and GC?
Whatever they issue to the GC, they issue to the property owner.
Yeah, let's talk, because I'm not familiar of that being a practice. There are certain things where we do issue certain violations to the owner. So an example, I mentioned Local Law 196. If there is a worker on a site where workers are required to have safety training, so broad stroke, that's basically any building that is bigger than a 4-story building, typically. Again, broad stroke, there are other things that capture you into that. Also, anything that has a construction super required on a site. And so in those instances, when the department's out there, when our inspectors are there, if there is a worker without the required 30-hour credential, the penalties go to 3 potential entities. One is the GC. 2, if there is a sub that individual is working for, it would go to the sub. And 3 is the property owner. So in that instance, and that is by law, those 3, definitely 2, but potentially 3, are triggered, and we are 100% writing violations to all applicable parties. That would be probably one of the larger drivers these days of violations being issued to property owners.
But why is that violation going to a property owner when there's a licensed contractor on the job?
In that very specific instance, the law calls out those 3 responsible parties. So GC, permit puller, sub, again, if that individual is working for a sub,
Well, no,
and property owner.
That I understand, but again, my issue is when a property owner hires a GC to run the job, if the property owner is going to be issued the same violation, then the property owner might as well just run the job himself.
Again, I get that. So back to my earlier point, we want, for a very long time, we've only really talked to contractors and RDPs, registered design professionals. That's it. Those are the people who come in, they file, and they pull permits. That's been our usual conversation points. And that's not a good enough conversation point for us because of that point. I want to make sure that everybody understands what can happen, what will happen, and how to fix it, right? I don't want you in that problem to begin with, but if you're there, okay, call the department, let us work with you to get you out. Again, on 196, very specifically, the law did call out those 3 entities. So we're enforcing the law that prescribed where there are workers on a site that requires site safety training, that those 3 entities, again, if a sub is there, those 3 entities are issued the violation directly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Any other questions?
Thank you for having me tonight.
So I'd like to thank everyone. Again, I'd like to thank Peter Foster and our NCO officers and Commissioner LaRocca for joining us tonight. Again, another big hand. Okay, so does anybody else have any announcements they want to make? Anything they'd like to bring up that's going to happen in the neighborhood, like say the next month, or anything that's going on? Anyone? Nope. Okay.